10-4.
Welcome, everybody. This is the DVMUG Zoom meeting for Tuesday, November 2020. And here's Rick.
Here's Rick. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody, or at least as happy a Thanksgiving as possible under these circumstances. But there's light at the end of the tunnel in more ways than one. So we'll keep hoping for better days ahead with the advent of the possible vaccines coming up. That may get us back to normal, but I don't expect it much before next Thanksgiving. Anyway, here we go. If I can advance this thing. Q&A time. We had no questions at all on the bulletin board, but I'm sure that some of you are just oozing with questions about this or that. So the floor is open for questions from our membership.
If you turn off your screen share so we can see the speakers.
Okay. Stop share. My mouse doesn't work.
Yeah, you're still sharing. You advance to the next slide.
Yeah, I'm... there's my mouse. Stop sharing.
There you go. Okay.
No,
I have
stop
a
that.
question again. A lot of my emails are coming in recently with that they can't send them in that format. And then a whole bunch of like websites to go to. Does that make any sense at all?
Give us a little more information. I'm not sure I really understand.
Well, instead of, if you get an email, like say from Macy's, and it usually pops up with the pictures and ads and all of this stuff. But sometimes now they're coming in that we can't send them in that format, that you have to click on this and it'll have about 4 blue lines of, HTTP, blah, 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 blah. And I don't think I've changed any things.
You're not using Apple Mail, you're using webmail, right?
Right.
Don't do that.
Yeah, that's not really the best way to do mail.
What are you using? Gmail or Comcast or
I've got a couple. I've got sbcglobal.net and Gmail.
Okay, Gmail is pretty good on the web, but you'll have to push the button like you say. You should set these up in Apple Mail.
Absolutely.
Well,
absolutely. Especially the SBC is powered by Yahoo. That's hideous. You don't want to do that.
That's awful.
Unfortunately, that's so old that that's where almost all of my stuff is. So
yeah, but you can read.
You won't lose it.
You can read your mail in whatever program you want. You can read it on the web in Google Chrome, Safari, Firefox. You could read it in Microsoft Outlook email reader. But you really should do what you have on your computer is called Mail from Apple in your applications folder. And you can read it in there and you won't see all the ads at Yahoo.
Okay.
And it'll work. It'll view all the stuff right and it's way better.
Okay, I'll see if I can have my granddaughter help me get that.
Go to System Preferences to Internet Accounts and then just choose the Gmail's easy. It'll say Google, you type in your email address and password.
And that's it.
It'll show up in Apple Mail and Yahoo. You choose your SBC will have a button for Yahoo. And then you put in your SBC address and password and it'll show up in Apple Mail. It'll work great.
Okay, great. Thank you.
And it's far more preferable than webmail. Far more preferable.
And I should add, you won't break anything and you won't lose anything. You're just looking at it from a different point of view. You can go back to the web. Same content.
It'll all look the same.
Yeah. Thank you, Janet.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Is that dog real?
No, it's a doorstop. I was going to just say that. Look at that cute little doggy.
Yeah.
No, that's a way old doorstop of my grandma's.
This is like cast iron?
Yeah,
Yeah, it's real
Yeah.
heavy, huh?
yeah.
A cute guy.
Okay. That was easy.
Next, any other questions?
Well, I was looking for a little advice. Uh, I'm considering getting a Mac Mini, and I
Yahoo!
had some old iMacs that I was hoping I could use as the monitor. And in searching all around and so forth, I just got a whole lot of yes and no's. I ended up calling Apple this morning
Mhm.
and went in with a serial number and all that. And the answer I got was no.
Yeah.
It
But
only
I'm
works
not.
with I think it only works with the 27 inches from the early, like 2010 to 2014, something like that. I'm considering doing that too.
Well, I've got a 224s in that same area.
I think it
But
only
I've
works on the 27s.
the 20, that's what I was afraid of.
Yeah.
I
Well,
was going to
the
Google that
bright,
and find a list of them that'll work.
look at the bright side. If you've got an HDMI output on the Mini and you have a moderately sized flat screen TV that maybe you keep in your bedroom or someplace, you can connect it up using HDMI.
Yeah, that's my
Or,
fallback,
yeah,
and I've got a 36-inch second TV that I'm using right now,
yeah,
That's
but
too big.
it's too big.
Yeah.
I
Too
need
big.
something small.
The other thing is that you can pick up a fairly decent monitor for under $200. I
Oh,
mean, it's
more
not
like
going to be
Oh.
perfect, but not bad.
a 24-inch monitor could be had for probably $100.
Yeah.
Yeah, that I checked Amazon and Costco, and they both have them for around $100.
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I was strolling through Walmart the other day looking at TVs while I was getting something else. I said, geez, you can get a 40-inch 4K HDR TV Vizio for like $200.
Well, Leo
Crazy.
Laporte, a week ago, Leo Laporte and his video guy were knocked out because they had a 65-inch TV, HDR, full panel LEDs behind the screen, Dolby, and all that stuff for $400. Of course, they sold out.
There's two new Chinese companies that are trying to bust into the market. I think it's Hisense and TCL.
Yeah, yeah. This was I think it was a Hisense that
Right.
Leo
Those are big Chinese companies
Yeah,
trying to knock out the Korean companies like Samsung and I think Vizio is a Korean company too.
but they're manufactured in Mexico, though, I think, aren't they?
Really?
Yeah, they don't make them in China. And Vizio's good too, but
Oh, Vizio is the best TV for the bang for the buck.
yeah, yeah.
But it's
We
like
had-
all the TVs were made in Japan and then the Koreans took over and now the Chinese are trying to move in.
We had one question. I don't know. Is Bob Lingo with us today? Oh, too bad. Bob has an Epson printer that was going crazy. It would print one page in solid black, and he couldn't get it to stop, and I couldn't figure out what was going on. The only thing I would suggest, and I didn't get an opportunity to do it on the bulletin board, was to delete the printer and reinstall it. Maybe somebody else has had that experience. I don't know.
Scott Clark has a question about your printer. Scott, do you have an HP printer? Scott, unmute. Do you have an HP printer? His message in chat says he got kicked off their printer. I'm thinking he's got that HP malware message.
Oh, that's possible. Yeah.
Scott, you need to unmute. Scott. I don't know. He just Scott Clark just Put it in chat.
Is he here?
You're not paying attention? Unmute, Scott. Press and hold the space bar.
He may be out of the room.
Oh, he's talking.
No, he's talking, but he's
You're muted.
Scott, nobody
Press
could hear
and
him.
hold the space bar, Scott.
I have an
we
HP
need-
printer. I have an
we
HP
need-
printer, and I was
We
doing.
need, yeah, you got the
turn
malware
off-
message.
Turn
Well,
off
I got it for printing, and it showed me how to get rid of it. And yesterday I was scanning something, and I got it again. But I thought, oh my God, I forgot how to get rid of it. But it showed me what to do. It showed me right
Yeah,
on the
you
screen.
just delete the printer and re-add it and it'll work.
Yeah, I didn't do that. It told me what to do, how to delete it, and then it didn't do it again. So I just plugged it back in. Worked like magic.
It's best if you go into this hard drive, into the library, into printers, and find the
Yeah.
HP folder and throw it away.
Yeah, that's what I did.
Then
That's
it'll
what they
be-
told. But they told me exactly how to do that. They told me.
Yeah, that's pretty easy. It
That was
forces
easy.
it to download the HP drivers directly from Apple, which are not a problem.
When I upgraded to Big Sur, I had to throw away my Epson printer driver and download a new one. But it worked just fine.
Yeah, it's
Any
funny.
other
people are-
questions?
Is everybody uploading Big Sur? Is everybody downloading it? I have an old iPad, Apple iPad Air, and I'm a little nervous about it. It said to hold off.
iPads and iPhones don't run Mac OS. They run iOS.
I'm sorry, iOS. So Big Sur, are people
Big
downloading?
Sur would be for your Mac, not for your iPad.
I meant for my Mac. Sorry.
What year is your computer?
Early 2013.
It's right on the cusp, whether
Yeah.
it'll work or not.
Some do, some
I
don't.
think it has to be late 2013.
Yeah, I looked it up yesterday. I'm right on the. Yeah,
I wouldn't be in any hurry to do it.
yeah, that's what I say.
What are you
Okay.
running now? You running you running Catalina?
Yeah, I'm running the latest before Big Sur came out.
Yeah,
just-
you might want to just freeze it.
Just leave it alone for a
On
while.
and
Yeah.
go back into
No
it.
hurry.
I agree.
Thanks, Stu.
There's some funny things going on. For instance, I can't flag a message in mail. The flag feature doesn't work. The icons on the BBS are wonky. They appear and disappear and they fragment. Nothing
I've seen
major.
windows that I open in the Finder will go down below the dock where you can't pull them up and resize them.
I haven't seen that.
Yeah, I tried to recreate it today and it wasn't doing it.
I used to have that with Excel for years. It drove me crazy.
Yeah, these are
Well-
just Finder windows. You wouldn't think Apple Finder windows would do that, but maybe it got. There hasn't been a fix yet. There hasn't been an upgrade for the Big Sur. All there was, it did come out as 11.01,
Yeah.
not 11.0. So we'll see. Got some more in the chat.
Another question in chat, yes.
Let me bring up chat and see what the question is.
I'm trying to Walnut Creek Historical Society. Who's that?
Unmute
Gotta
yourself.
unmute. Press and hold your space bar.
We can't hear you unless you press your space bar and hold it. Walnut Creek
Sorry, yes,
Historical?
Yes, that's me. I'm Priscilla Tudor. I use their Zoom program. Their
Yeah.
Zoom
You're
network.
installing Mojave
trying
and
to-
it's
I'm
stuck
trying to-
on the.
No, I'm trying to update it, and it keeps telling me when I go to download it, it says, "Where do you want to download it?" And I have no idea what to do.
Where are you? How are you doing this download?
I'm going into the upload into the updates, and it comes up that I need to update it, and then when I click on that, it comes up and but when I say yes, I want to download it, it asks me where.
It shouldn't do that. It
Yeah,
should
it
just
shouldn't.
automatically download.
Oh,
Well,
maybe,
that's what I thought. That's what it's always done before, but
Are you
that's what
doing
it's
an?
doing now.
is
Are
she doing
you?
a download or an install?
Well, yes, I'm sorry. It is, I think it is trying to install it, yes.
Install what? Mojave?
No, the
The
update.
update.
The update.
A Mojave update.
Yeah.
I think, I'm sorry, I'm not at home and I don't have my, my MacBook Pro where I can get hold of it right now. But it seems to me that that's what it said.
Yeah, it's hard to tell if you were doing. Is it trying to go to Catalina or Big Sur, or is it just doing a Mojave supplemental update?
I don't even know. It doesn't even say what, it doesn't tell me the program that it's updating. It's just telling me that
Well,
I need to install this update.
We need to see it on the screen to see what it's doing. Well, if it's
Yeah.
asking you where to download it, it really doesn't matter. Say the desktop. Just put it in the on the desktop.
But I don't even know how to, I don't even know how to tell it to go to the desktop at this point. It just says, where do you want to download it? And I don't know what to do then.
Well, at that point, it should give you a choice to navigate to the
doesn't.
place.
No, there's no choice. There's
This
no
doesn't
option.
sound normal to me.
Yeah, that's not normal.
Normally, it just does it.
I know, because that's what's happened when I've updated things before, but that's not what's happening this time.
Priscilla, I think I would suggest you shut your machine down,
Restart it.
restart it, and then go to System Preferences to Software Update directly.
Yes.
And I think it will work then. Something has gone wonky, and I think you need to do a restart. Do you
Okay.
shut your machine down occasionally?
Yes, actually, I just did shut it down because I was having another issue, and that problem was solved. But I haven't tried again to do the
Okay.
update since I did shut it down. So I will try that.
Okay.
Thank you. Thanks so
Yeah.
much.
Check that out. I think that'll help you. Otherwise, we'll see you next week.
Well,
Okay.
next week is class, so
Yeah. Well, check in about.
although we could do it
2:45.
after the class.
Yeah.
Okay. Thanks so much.
Sure. Any other questions?
Not a question, but a comment.
Sure.
If anyone has upgraded the 1Password to version 7, they may find they have to restart their computer in order to get the extension to working properly in Safari.
I think
Did
that
you-
I
did-
did
are you in
have
a
to
big-
do that.
Are you in Big Sur? Did you go to Big Sur?
No, I'm doing this in Mojave.
Okay.
I think I had to do it in Big Sur. Although I'm growing increasingly frustrated with 1Password. It's just too bloody
So
complex.
I had to redo the LastPass Safari extension in Big Sur, and I checked in Mojave.
Yep.
It wasn't in. They say you're supposed to go to the Safari extensions, which takes you to the App Store. It wasn't in there. So what I did was I threw LastPass away out of the apps and went on the web to the LastPass website, and it had a download LastPass for Safari, which is a whole new installer with the app. And then when you launch it, it said, you're using this for the first time in Safari. Would you like to install the extension? And then you have to go enable it. So it was a whole reinstall procedure. That's how I had to do. That's what I had to do, even in Mojave on one of my machines, or more than one. So
Bert has his hand up.
Bert. Aloha.
Aloha, everyone. My question has to do with a bootable clone made on Carbon Copy Clone. It boots well, but it puts a number of files on the desktop that really are old files and weren't on the desktop, and it truncates the beginning of the file name and instead inserts a tilde, a $, and maybe the last 2/3 of the real file name.
okay, so when you do the clone, there's a check box, or there's a little pop-up that says safety net or something like that.
I have it on.
That's what that is. It's if you do it and there's a existing file there, it keeps the old one, and I guess it truncates the name or something.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I don't use that feature, and I don't know why you really need to. It's kind of like making Carbon Copy Cloner function like Time Machine. So you may look in other places where you've changed file names in your documents and see the same thing.
Okay. I'll turn it off.
I thought it made a folder somewhere on the root level of the hard drive that said something about the safety net or something. I've done it by accident a few times.
I thought so too.
I went and looked at the clone and I saw this folder and said, "Oh, I must have left that on." Because it's on by default.
After it gets to be, I think, 25 gigs, it prunes some of the old stuff out.
Well, you can in the preferences in there, you can set it for how much you want to keep. Different criteria. But
Maybe I'll just turn it off.
Turn it off.
Okay.
If you have Time Machine, you don't need to do that. Yeah, don't do that.
Another question. Is Samsung T5 or T7 still considered the state-of-the-art for 1 terabyte external SSDs?
That's what
They're
Chris
bloody
says.
fast. They're really fast and small.
I'm not familiar with the externals. I don't use externals. I just use the internals, and I love all the Samsung Evos and Pros and stuff. I should imagine they contain the same innards, so they're probably
they're smaller. They're physically smaller.
Really?
I mean,
they're
the
like
external
they're much smaller in physical size, and I think they may be faster.
Okay. So they may be more than like the serial ATA. It's the M.2.
Yeah, and they're
USB-C.
They're USB-C also, not 3s.
Oh wow!
So there can be really fast.
Yeah, there's a lot of different size SSDs. I mean, it's bewildering, the market, and they now have those different technologies, the M.2, the SATA, and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So yeah,
I think they can be.
They're awesome.
Yeah.
They're bloody fast to boot off of.
Yeah.
Off the USB-C. They're super fast.
After Chris gave me such a beating 2 meetings ago over my slow iMac in its virtual machine, now I didn't order the Samsung, but I went to OWC and I ordered a 1 gig, 1 terabyte solid state drive and their kit. And total install time was probably 45 minutes. But the problem that I ran into was getting the information onto the new drive. Normally, I always try and copy my data onto a new drive before I install it so that I know it's working. So with the Big Sur, of course, you can't do a clone to it because that software is not up to date enough yet. So what I did do was I downloaded the Big Sur install from the web to the device, and it went completely wonky. It just didn't work right. All the stuff was there, but it didn't work right. So I erased the drive and did it again, and this time it was fine, and I did the transfer manager. What's the
migration assistant?
The migration assistant, and it transferred everything over just perfectly. At which point then I broke open the iMac, removed the old drive, installed the new drive, and on startup I got a black screen with a notice, apple.com startup. So I thought, oh, that's because the old drive was listed as the startup drive, and I reset the NVRAM and it was fine. Just worked beautifully. And that was including the tools and the adhesive strips, which are very important. It was $240. And you can
the suction cups and
the whole work. I already had suction cups, but I didn't have the strips and the mounting kit and all that stuff, so I got it all.
In the future, you can get just, if you already got a kit with the cutter and the cups and everything, and you don't need the adapter.
Yeah.
you can get the strips off of Amazon for $10.
Is that right? Oh
Yeah,
my goodness.
Prime delivered in 2 days.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, they're not quite as, the only problem I found with them is when you try to peel off the strip,
Yeah.
the adhesive on the strip was like, it didn't come off as nice and easy as the
Oh.
OWC ones.
Yeah. Were the holes in there, the mounting?
Yeah, it was exactly the
template hole?
same. It was exactly
Well,
the
I'll
same.
tell you, it was really good. And I have to confess, I screwed up. I put the bottom strip on the Mac instead of on the monitor, but it still worked out fine. I was careful.
Yeah, the ones that came from Amazon didn't have a diagram in there with number to where you put them, but they had a
Oh.
picture on the web. So I used like,
Yeah.
you only put them on once. You can't get them back off.
No.
Once they're on there,
No,
it's done.
That's it.
And when
And
somebody
Janet
recommended in the
Janet has
iFixit, they recommended, okay, you put it in there and you hook up the cables and fire it up and make sure the monitor lights up okay and works before you drop it down. Because once
Yeah.
you drop it and you didn't get the cable right, you got to peel it and do new strips and the whole
That's
deal. I
right.
thought that was a good tip.
And
Yeah.
we're coming up on half an hour, and Janet has her hand up.
Okay, go, Janet.
On the subject of carbon copy cloner, my Mojave machine is getting pretty old, 7 years, and I started worrying. So I thought I ought to try one of my clones to see if I can start up from the clone. And it started up just fine, but there were weird glitches. I mean, things that had nothing to do with the operating system, like some mail didn't get received in the inbox, it was in trash or something, and just weird glitches. And
Did you do a fresh clone?
no, should I have?
So it was an old clone, so it's in the state of whatever it was 2 years ago.
No, it was a new clone, but it
Okay.
been building on old. It's got some of
Okay,
that
so you did a fresh
extra-
clone and immediately booted off of it.
Yeah,
It should have been exactly as if you were sitting there at the machine.
yeah. So that worries
Exactly.
me. I mean, it worked, but there were weird glitches here and there.
It should work.
Yeah,
Because if you, when you run Carbon Copy Cloner and it isn't, because it runs a verification pass to make sure it's the same, and if anything's different, you'll get an error, and then you can look in the error log and it'll say exactly which file and where it is, like a path. This file didn't work because you need to redo it or delete it, it's bad, or whatever it says. It'll give you a log file about why it wasn't perfect. And
Well,
every
maybe-
once in a while you'll get something like that, a bad file that it couldn't transfer or something, and you just have to like go into your original and hopefully it's not a file you need, and chuck it and redo it.
well, I'm wondering if maybe I should erase the disk and start, make a new one.
Run a new clone it again.
Yeah,
Make sure there's no errors. It should go green, and if it's red, then you just see why it is red.
well, there weren't any errors or anything. But, okay, well, go ahead.
It should be okay. Okay, we ready to run the share the screen and run the video?
Sure, I think so. The good Lord willing. Here we go. Well, let's take a look here and see what we got. Maybe I don't have it ready yet. Let's see if we can bring it up. It was there. Come on. Keynote. What is this? Well, I'm not sure what's going on here. I'm gonna hide this.
Not sharing screen yet.
No, I'm trying to bring up this. I'll get to you in a sec. I'm bringing up this. Okay, so now we'll go back to Zoom and share the screen. Back to meeting. Okay, are you seeing me?
Yep, go full screen and play.
There you go.
There you go.
Okay, so there's a lot of stuff that on the little applications that we use that sometimes they're just a nuisance when you start up your machine and you get all of these notifications and you feel like, my God, these things are just a curse. But is there more to notifications than just pop-ups? And I think that you can, well, let's learn to enhance the use of notifications and make it the useful application it should be. Come on. Here we go.
Hi, this is Gary with MacMost.com. Today, let me show you how to control notifications on your Mac. MacMost is brought to you thanks to a great group of more than 800 supporters. Go to MacMost.com/Patreon. There you can read more about the Patreon campaign, join us, and get exclusive content and course discounts. So when you get a notification on your Mac, it appears in the upper right hand corner, just like this. This one will just go away after a few seconds. Watch how it slides back in. Some may stay, and I'll show you how to control that in a minute. Now once they're gone, you can access them by clicking on the date and time at the upper right hand corner, and this will bring up Notification Center. Notification Center has two parts, notifications at the top and widgets at the bottom. Now there are exactly 3 notifications that are shown here, but you can see I've got an indicator here telling me that there are more. Notice also that some of these are grouped together. You can see, for instance, that there's one calendar notification, but a group of reminders notifications and messages notifications. If I click on where it says more, then you can see there are other ones here, including a group from a website and one from screen time. You could always go right to the right of Notification Center here, and there's a little button that allows you to collapse the More section. Now getting rid of these is pretty easy. Notice if I roll over any one, I get a little X button and I can dismiss that. I also have some actions down here, and the actions will depend on the app that's giving the notification. So here I have a snooze button for calendar. For reminders, I'll have different things. Let me click on this group here to reveal both of the reminders notifications, and you can see there's an options button there. I can click on that and choose an option that's specific to reminders. Other apps may have different options. I can also click on Show Less here to collapse them back into a single group. And also notice that sometimes I have a little button here, and again it depends on the app. In Calendar I can click that and I can see more information about that particular item. There's also 3 dots here and I can click that and set some options right here without having to go to System Preferences. So I can turn off calendar notifications right here or jump all the way to Preferences, which we're going to look at in a minute. I can click here to collapse this again. When I have a group like this, I can click the X button here to dismiss one, or I can click this one here to clear all of them in the group. Let's look at these messages here. I'll click on this and you can see I've got the ability to dismiss each individual one. I've got the ability to clear all. I also have options here like Show More, which will allow me to send a response right here in Notification Center, or I could mark this as read. Now if you're getting a lot of notifications and they're always getting in the way and bugging you, then you want to take control of those. And the way to do that is to go to System Preferences and there go to Notifications. And then you're going to see a list of apps and system processes that use notifications. Select any one and you'll see options for notifications for that app here on the right. You could completely disallow notifications. So for instance, let's go to Messages and I can turn off notifications for messages completely. I can also choose the alert style. This is what I see in the upper right hand corner of the screen when I'm just doing my work and suddenly a notification pops up. I could say, no, I don't want that. I want it to be a notification center, but I don't want it to disturb me otherwise. Or I can choose banners. Now banners will appear and then after a few seconds go away on their own. Alerts will appear and stay there until you take an action. You also can choose whether or not they're shown in Notification Center at all. So if you want to see a quick alert from an app, like say the music app when it plays a new song, but you don't want it to clutter up Notification Center, you could turn this off for music. You could also determine whether or not it's shown on the lock screen. So before you log in. This is important if an app tends to give you private information. So for instance for Messages you may want to not have that shown on the lock screen. The badge app icon is what you see in the dock here when there's a little number like here above Messages saying I have 2 messages. If I turn that off for Messages you can see now I've got no number there. And also I could choose whether or not sounds play for notifications. So I can still have them appear but quietly. There are also options for preview. So for instance, I could have it show that I've got a notification for messages, but not a preview of what the message is. And for grouping, I can have it automatically group together by app, or no grouping at all. So each item is there individually like it was before. There's also the universal setting here for show preview. So notice it says when unlocked default. Well, if I were to change this to always, you can see always is now default. So you can go through every one of the apps that's allowed to send you notifications and change how they appear. So you can get rid of a lot of the ones that are annoying and only have the ones that are very important to you. Now notice also there's a website listed in here. I went to a website that I know has notifications. Now Mac Rumors does things right. You have to actually request from the site. It doesn't throw out one of those alerts asking you to accept notifications every time you visit the site. But I could now control this website's notifications right here. You also have the ability to do this in Safari. You can go to Safari, Preferences, and from there go to Websites. And you'll see here a list of open websites and websites where you've chosen to allow notifications. And here you can deny it or allow it, or simply select it and remove it so it's like you've never visited that site before. And now you can see that site is missing from System Preferences. So some other tricks here in Notification Center. You can always control click or two finger click on a trackpad to get some options here. The same deliver quietly or turn off options for any group. And also when you get a notification, whether it's a banner or an alert, you can click and drag it off to the right to take no action. Just kind of dismiss it. And it'll still be here in Notification Center. Now also here in System Preferences Notifications, the first item isn't an app but is your Do Not Disturb settings. So here's where you can turn on Do Not Disturb automatically by selecting From and setting a time to turn it on and a time to turn it off. Or you can have it on when the display is asleep, or when the screen is locked, or when you're mirroring to TVs or projectors. In other words, you're making a presentation or watching a television show that you're sending via AirPlay. You can also turn on Do Not Disturb by clicking on Control Center here and then clicking Do Not Disturb. And you can turn it on for 1 hour, until the evening, until tomorrow, or just turn it on permanently. So when I put it on, when I get a new message, nothing is going to happen. I'm not going to see it appear here. But if I click on Notification Center, I could see that the message actually did get to me and it does appear in Notification Center. I just didn't get the notification here on the screen because I had Do Not Disturb turned on. You can also permanently add a Do Not Disturb indicator here in the menu bar by going into Control Center and dragging Do Not Disturb to where you want it in the menu bar. So now you've got this little moon here. You can click it to turn on Do Not Disturb or see its current status. Like it's off now and now you can see it's on. So I think it's an unavoidable task for every Mac user to go into System Preferences and look at your settings for each of your apps and customize them. Otherwise you're either going to get too many notifications and they're going to get in the way, or you're not going to get enough notifications. Like you're not going to know when you get new messages unless you look. Notifications are a very useful part of using your Mac, but you do need to take control of them to get the most out of them. I publish new tutorials every weekday. Hit the subscribe button so you don't miss out. Then hit the little bell icon to get notifications for each new tutorial.
So you can see there's a lot to this application that can simplify your life for you. I'm going to go to the next slide. For some reason the mouse pad is not bringing up the next slide. Okay. So it's a down arrow this week. It varies with Keynote. It gets me confused sometimes. Sometimes in order to advance I have to hit the mouse button. Other times it's the down arrow. Also, we've had a lot of discussion about password managers, and I found this this video that I think is pretty good. And the thing I like about LastPass is it's free and it seems to just work. Let's take a look.
You got to watch. I watched this and he talks about some features that are not in the free version that you have to pay for. So.
Yes. There's two versions. There's the free version and then there's the subscription version. So you can decide whether you want to pay for it or not. My feeling is if you're going to use something for production, you ought to pay for it. But anyway, here we go.
Hey folks, today I'm going to be doing a class on a topic that I know is a major headache for a lot of people out there. Today we're going to be talking about password management. And the solution that I'm going to recommend to all of you today is a piece of software called LastPass. Today, I'm going to walk you through this entire piece of software, including how to import your old usernames and passwords, how to use LastPass's software to change your passwords to make them more complex, and I'm even going to show you how to create an emergency contact so that, God forbid, if something were to happen to you, one of your loved ones has the ability to get into everything. In many ways, this actually makes LastPass work a little bit like a digital will. There is a 30-day free trial, and if you decide you want to continue on beyond that, it's around $2 a month depending on what type of license you need. How to manage your passwords with LastPass, coming up next on Tech Talk America. The first thing you're going to want to do when you go to LastPass's website is you're going to click on this little button that you see right here that says Get LastPass Free. From here, you'll be directed to install the LastPass web browser extension. Now, if you do use more than one web browser on your computer, you're going to want to do this for each of them. If you need links to any of these, you'll find them all down below in the description of the video. This feature is just going to allow LastPass to synchronize across your various devices. So now that the web browser extension is installed, you'll see that I have the little LastPass icon here at the top right. It's gray because right now I'm not signed in. When it is active, it'll be red. For now, let's click on it and let's create a brand new account. You can also see that this is where you can go to sign in if you're installing it on another device. For now, let me type in my demo account email address and let's click Create an Account. At this point, you are going to be prompted to create your master password, and when everything is said and done, this is really the only password that you will need to remember. Now, depending on what your security needs, you can either make it so that you have to enter in this master password every time you use LastPass, or if you want it to be a little bit more lax, I am going to actually show you later on how to make it so that you don't need to enter in this password quite as often. That's coming up soon. Now that LastPass is talking to your web browser, for those of you out there who are Mac users, I would recommend that you do one other step and go into the Mac App Store and download the LastPass app. That way, if you ever need access to this kind of information, you don't have to go through the web just to get it. And after you're done with that, you might want to consider putting a shortcut to the LastPass app down in your dock. Just go into your Applications folder and you can drag it and drop it wherever you like. Now let's open that app and let me log in with my username and password that I just created. And I want to point out that here you will see that we have two options that may be a very good option for people who just need their Mac to be a little bit easier to use. You'll notice that we have an option here to have it remember both your email address and your master password. Obviously, this is not something that you want to use if you are using your computer in a shared work environment, but for some people, this is going to be a very handy feature. So I wanted to make sure I pointed it out. Once you've installed LastPass into your iPhone or iPad, there's something that you're going to need to change in the settings to allow it to communicate with your iPhone. So now let me show you how to do that. You're going to first go here into Settings. Now this is of course after you have already installed the LastPass app from the App Store. From here, scroll down a little bit, and we're going to go here into where it says Passwords and Accounts. From there, Autofill Passwords. And just make sure that top option is turned on and make sure that LastPass, which you see right there, is checked. When it comes to importing your data, it all depends on how you are currently storing that information. For those of you who are using a different password saving application, you can probably export it and import it into LastPass. In order to do this, just log in through the web to your account, go to More Options. From there, go here into Advanced, and from there, the very first option is Import. Here you can see a list of all of the other types of password saving applications that do talk directly to LastPass. But if you're saving your passwords through another method, you may end up having to import them manually, which I'm going to walk you through right now. So I'm going to just open up my web browser, And what's going to happen is as we start to log into various websites, it's going to automatically start to save the information, and then we're going to use the password generator to change the password to something a bit more complex. So let me log in at this point with my real username and password. And you'll notice that when I now go to sign in, before I do see the LastPass icon right here. But because it's the first time I've used it, it doesn't really know what to do. It doesn't see any information. However, in the future, that is what we're going to end up clicking on. Just wanted to point that out now. So let's hit sign in and I'll show you what happens. And as you will see here, we get a little alert that pops up at the top right. And just by simply clicking add, we can now add that info to our LastPass vault. Now, keep in mind, this is truly only the first part of this process, because from here, what we're going to want to do is change that password to something that is just a bunch of random letters and numbers. So I'm going to go back to that website at this point and go in to change my password. Now, because that password is stored in my LastPass vault, what I can do at this point is click on that little icon here over at the right-hand side, and then from there, I can just simply click on where it says fill, and it will fill that password. Now, when it comes to creating a new password, check this out. All you need to do is secondary click, some of you know that as a right click, and you will see that LastPass now appears here at the bottom. So from here, you'll notice that we have an option to generate a secure password. I'm going to check that. And from here, we can choose exactly how complex we want this new password to be. Now, if I could give you one little piece of advice, for something like a website where it's just going to autofill in the future, you can go really as complex as you want. But for other types of accounts like your Apple ID or maybe a Netflix password, anything where you might actually need to type out this password manually, you might want to keep it a little bit more simple. So when you have your password created, we're going to click on the little red button here at the bottom right that says copy password. And from here, I'm just going to paste it into these two fields with Command V. And you'll notice when I click the change password button, we get a little pop-up notification at the top right from LastPass telling us that our password has been updated. So for those of you out there who store your passwords through a manual method, you're basically just going to need to repeat that process for all of the various websites where you have accounts. I'm going to show you how to create secured notes and add your credit cards into LastPass and all sorts of other good stuff. But before we get to that, there's a really important feature that I wanted to show you, which is how to create an emergency access contact. This is what I referred to at the beginning of the video, where this application can really act almost as a digital will. So let me show you how to set this up. Here at the bottom left, we're going to go into where it says emergency access. And on this next screen, you'll see we have two categories, people I trust and people who trust me. So when you set up emergency contacts, you will see these various people listed in this area here. So for now, let's go down to the bottom right corner and hit that little plus button. Now at this point, I would just need to type in the email address of my emergency contact. And below that, you'll see there's this feature here called wait time. Let me explain how this feature works. If my emergency contact requests access to my account, at that point, LastPass will send me an email letting me know that they've done so, and a timer begins at that moment. And in this case, after 48 hours, if I don't respond, they will gain access to my account. So with that knowledge, choose whatever wait time you like. In some cases, I can totally understand why someone would probably want it to be immediate, but you can also have it be as long as 30 days. Getting back to where we were, you'll also notice that here in LastPass, you can add secured notes. You can add as many as you want. If you'd like to add a folder structure, you can do that. Just hover over the little plus symbol here at the bottom right. You can add folders if you like. Also, you're going to probably want to go here into addresses. More than anything, you just want to add yourself here. So when you go to fill out forms online, it can fill this information very quickly. So just put your information in there and hit save. Also, of course, we have the ability to store your various credit cards here within LastPass. One little piece of advice I learned years ago that I would like to pass on to you Here in the notes section that you see of the credit card, I would recommend that you put the customer service phone number. That way, God forbid, if you're ever robbed and the robber's too dumb to not take your cell phone, you have a way to contact your credit card company rather quickly and tell them to obviously put a stop on all charges. By putting all of your credit cards here in LastPass, what it means is that when you're on the web and you need to submit that kind of information, just like we were able to do with your username and password, you'll be able to secondary click, and under LastPass, that will be one of the options that you'll be able to submit. I know this is slightly off topic, but while we're on the topic of credit cards, I do want to mention that I tend to recommend that you consider also registering each of your credit cards with Apple Pay. The reason is, even if you don't use Apple Pay, that way, anytime there is a charge on your credit card, you'll get a push notification on your iPhone, Apple Watch, and whatever other devices that you have it registered with. Finally, you'll notice that we have a little section here for bank accounts, so that way you just have a really fast, easy way to get to that kind of information. Here's the different fields that you have access to, so there you go. Once you have finished the process of importing your usernames and passwords and have also changed those passwords to make them more secure, the other thing you might want to consider doing is printing this information so that you do have a physical copy. This can be a very handy thing to put in something like a safe or a safety deposit box. In order to do this, go to the web extension icon here at the top right, go here to where it says More Options, and you'll find that the last option here is Print. Thanks for watching, everyone, and keep in mind, if you ever want to take a private lesson with yours truly, that is something that I like to do when I have a little bit of free time, especially in the winter. If you would like to find out more information, you can find out everything on my website and even book online at techtalkamerica.com. Just go to the little page called Private Lessons. This is David A. Cox with Tech Talk America. Class dismissed.
Are you there, Rick?
I'm here. Sorry, I
Okay.
started talking. I had to unmute. So I'm not going to go ahead and go back to share screen. I leave share screen because we have another video. This one I have not seen, but John recommended it this morning and we added it, and it certainly seems relevant. But regarding the last video, I think you'll all see how wonderfully simple something like LastPass is and what it can do for you. It's just wonderful.
Let's see if anybody has any questions about LastPass.
Yeah, one thing I'd like to add is that when you create passwords, I found another way to create passwords that aren't impossible, and that's using 3 separate words separated by a character. And if you go to how strong is my password, how secure is my password online, you can enter that password and it will postulate how long it would take a hacker running hacking software full time to crack that password. It's pretty interesting. So,
I think Bert has his hand up.
Yeah, go ahead.
Unmute, Bert. Press the space, hold the space bar.
If you use Safari and it also saves a password, is there any conflict, or is that something that should be avoided if possible?
Yes, it can be confusing. If you save them in 2 places, they'll fight on which one to put it in. You're best to choose one and use it and don't use the other.
Yeah.
Has anyone...
Safari, saving your passwords in Safari is perfectly fine. It does a lot of the same things. It's just not as sophisticated. You definitely should at least be using that.
Yeah.
Has anyone had an opportunity to compare Dashlane with LastPass? And if so, how does it compare?
I did a comparison about 2 years ago with Dashlane and LastPass and 1Password and another that I can't remember. And the Dashlane is fine. It works. I am not expert in it. I don't know all the ins and outs of it, but it's another one that's
I
free.
believe at one point Dashlane was free and now it's no longer free.
Oh, it's no longer free? Oh, okay.
For
Yeah,
that
it was
Truebird?
free at one time.
Yes, there is a yearly fee. I forget, it's around $50.
Yeah, so it used to be free, I believe. or they had a free account and a paid account or something like that.
Yeah.
LastPass is the most used and common one now because it works on any computer, Windows, Mac, and any browser. Works on your iPhone,
iOS.
your Android phone. At one time, LastPass was free for your web browsers on the Mac, but you had to pay for the iPhone version. That hasn't been true for a couple of years. What you get now if you pay is a pro version that has extra features. And then mainly the way they make their money is they have an enterprise version for businesses to control your employees. That's what they advertise to make money. That's where they fund themselves. Two participants raised their hand. Who would that be? I don't see that. It said two people raised their hand. What do we got in chat? Lynn.
Yeah. Can I assume that if you set up the LastPass account on your Mac, that it, and with the browsers that you use, it'll automatically show up on your phone?
Nope.
No.
You have to install the LastPass app from the App Store.
On both Mac and on the phone?
Yep. You have to install it on any device you want to use, although I believe you can just go to any computer in the world and go to lastpass.com in any web browser and log in, and then you could have access to your information, but it won't automatically autofill unless you install the extension.
Right. So it's a great convenience if you're traveling abroad and you're using your phone, but you need to do some stuff on a computer. If you're visiting a friend or you go to a computer shop, a coffee shop, you can log into your LastPass account from anywhere and utilize it using your master password. And it's a great convenience.
So on your phone and your iPads that have Touch ID or Face ID, you unlock the LastPass app with that, so you don't have to enter that to get access to your, passwords accounts.
Okay.
It's very handy.
Rick, is that a good idea, going into a cafe and logging in on some computer? It could be logging every keystroke.
Well, I suspect that it would be a decision you have to weigh the risks for. I've never used one of those places, though I haven't done any traveling in some time. But, if it was an emergency and I had to get through, I'd probably have no choice.
Yeah, if you're using some foreign computer physically, and they could have done anything in hardware to do that.
Yeah, you just never know.
So like a credit card skimmer for the gas pump, they could have installed some piece of hardware that, saves every keystroke, and then they decipher the passwords, in a public place. I don't think I'd log into my bank on a computer that I didn't know. You can access anything on your phone, your bank or something, very securely, because all the apps on your phone are encrypted when they talk to the bank. Like the B of A app talking to the B of A that's safer than your computer.
I've stopped sharing, and I'm wondering.
Did somebody else have a chat in there or a hand up there?
I've got a hand up, David Epley.
Go ahead.
Two questions. I didn't notice whether keychain was on the automatically importable list of passwords.
No, I didn't see that on the list either.
So does that mean if you've been using Safari keychain, you've got to essentially put them all in one at a time?
I don't know. I think that might be true, because Safari, your keychain doesn't have a way to export them as like CSV files, as far as I know.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
So that's the way LastPass, when he said print, he's presuming you're going to print a hard copy and put it in your safe, but it has an export command. We'll export it as a CSV file, which you can open in Numbers or Excel. And then what you do in there, Numbers and Excel can save as with a password. So you can password encrypt the CSV file, then it can sit on your computer or put it in Dropbox or iCloud or something. That's what I do.
Okay, so, and the other thing, I think I just heard you say that it can do, in lieu of your master password, it can do facial recognition.
Well, you have to put in a master password when you make the account.
Right.
And then when you log in on your browser for the first time, it will ask you to log in with your master password. And if you don't say remember password, it's random. Periodically will ask you for your master password again.
Right.
But on the phone, you also need to put in your master password. And then when you go use it again the next day, it will want you to enter the master password, which you can unlock. You give the option. It'll say, would you like to save this with Touch ID or your Face ID? If you say yes, then when you get to LastPass and it says unlock, you put your thumb or you look at it and it'll unlock the master password for the app where you can use it.
Yeah, that was my next question.
It's very handy.
Thumb ID, they've got it in there.
Yeah, you don't want to use, you want to use the master password is something you don't want to forget, and you don't want it to be easily guessable, and you want it to be only used for their master password. Don't use it anywhere else. That's, if you only have to remember one password, that's it, because it unlocks the rest of them. You can forget the rest of them because they're all saved. Unless, like you mentioned, you might want to know your Google password or your iCloud password in case you're somewhere else and you don't have your phone or something. That's kind of pretty important to be able to log into those things. So maybe you don't want to make them gibberish because you'll never be able to remember them if you don't have your access to your LastPass immediately. It depends on how secure you need things to be. Your bank, anything with transactions with money, you want a unique password that's very secure. Not so much your Facebook. You know, if somebody gets into your Facebook, what are they going to do? You know, paste, you know, some places it's really not important what your password is because it's nobody can do anything. It's like, you don't really care.
Kathleen raised
And again, you don't want to use the same password everywhere because they break into your easy place, like, you know, your Twitter account, and they get your email address and password, and that's the same as your Gmail address, and they go over there and break in. Then that's where you send the reset codes for your bank, and they can reset your password, and they got the whole deal. You don't want to do that.
So Kathleen and then Janet also had questions, and then I believe we have one more video.
Yeah.
Mine was just a quick one. Is it techtalkamerica.com that the video came from?
Yeah, but when you go to his website, you don't see the videos. You have to go to YouTube and look for Tech Talk America.
It's in the MailChimp under the video tutorial section. There's 3 buttons. There's MacMost and Leo Laporte's How to Mac and Tech Talk America. You can go to those sites. The Tech Talk America, I've been looking at that. He doesn't post stuff very often.
No.
Like weeks at a time.
What he is in business to do what we do.
Right. He says, call me and I'll one-on-one Zoom help you.
What did he say? It was 165 an hour, right?
Is that what he said?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So take money,
folks. I'm much cheaper.
He'll spend as much time with you as you want.
Yeah, I bet he will. I spend all day there. Yeah,
hello, what's your credit card number, please? And then we'll talk.
Don't you guys get any ideas now?
No, I'm beyond that. I don't do it anymore.
Yeah. I thought his stuff is pretty good, but he doesn't post stuff very often. I was just,
Sometimes he releases an entire training program. Like he did release the entire training program for, I think was Final Cut Pro, if I'm not mistaken. And I think there's another 1 or 2 that he has put up there for free. So there was one other question after you, Kathy. Yeah, Janet. Unmute yourself, Janet. Janet, unmute yourself.
Press and hold the space bar to talk. Janet.
I was pressing the space bar and it didn't
Okay.
unmute me. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. I've been using 1Password for forever and I've got, zillions of entries. And I'm wondering, is LastPass easier to use and do you get enough space for notes? Because I have an awful lot of notes after.
Yes, they have a notes field. It's probably something you have. It's probably a little different to use, but it's pretty much the same functionality.
I use
result.
1Password too, Jan, and I have a LastPass that I've been just doing on a parallel basis for some time. But honestly, I think LastPass is a bit easier.
I like easier.
Yeah, I do too. But I
By
have an
default,
awful
I
lot of
think-
stuff on 1Password that's not yet on LastPass.
I think by default, 1Password doesn't share with other computers. You have to save your database and put it in Dropbox or iCloud to get it to do that to your phone.
That's correct.
Where LastPass is on the web, and that's where it's stored. It's not on your computer. Although they do have an option for people who don't like that idea. I think they have the option now of doing it only on your computer and not in the cloud.
Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting. What about printing? I tried printing the one from 1Password and I've got like 600 entries. So it's just prohibitive to print it.
Oh my God, you're ahead of me. I have about 400.
Well,
Well, there are a lot
LastPass
I
is
could
just,
delete.
I don't know what it prints as because I've never done that, but
I've never done it either.
the export is just
You
a CSV file you open in Excel.
Yeah. And then you can print it or not print it or print.
Yeah,
what
you can do
shape
whatever you want.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
And you
Make
can
sure,
and you can access LastPass from anything that you have, your iPad, your iPhone, your
or any
computer.
You can do that
computer
with
in the world.
1Password also.
I can do
Go to
that with
somebody,
1Password.
go to somebody else's computer if you're traveling. Go to the LastPass website
And you can
log
do that
in,
with
and
1Password also.
No, well, 1Password wouldn't do that unless you enable that feature. By default, it doesn't go to the cloud.
Depends on what type of license you have.
Oh, okay.
If you
So
have the standalone license, you're right. But if you have the subscription license, it's in the cloud.
you can check to have it go to the web for synchronization through them.
I don't think it's an option. I think that if you subscribe, it's there. It's been so
Really?
long since I set it up. I can't remember.
Yeah, some people don't like the idea of putting their passwords on the internet, that they're not
Yeah.
safe.
It's
But
encrypted.
they worry, what about LastPass gets hacked? What happens? It's been hacked. They don't
Yeah.
get anything. It's gibberish.
Yeah.
They don't send your password over the internet. They send you the gibberish, which the password on your computer unlocks on your computer.
Yeah.
Unless you gave it the password of 1234 as your master password, then you deserve what you get.
That's right. Okay. Ready to rumble here?
Yep.
Okay, I had to shut down my Keynote. It's just not responding properly because I lose my mouse. So here we go again. Bringing it up. I think. Come on. Wow. That's desktop 1. Well, stand by a moment. Let me go back here.
Are you doing the
Trying to share.
play in window feature?
No.
Oh, because that leaves you with your access to your menu bar and stuff. And we see the full screen.
Yeah, I'm trying to open Keynote. Here we go. Whatever this is.
There we go.
Okay, here we go.
There you go. Full screen. We got it. We had it.
Screen sharing is stopped. Okay, share screen.
We had it for a second. There we go.
Okay, you got it?
Yep.
So I'm going to run it.
Yep.
Okay, John suggested this. I assume you watched it, John. You want to give the intro?
This is Mac Most from this morning, and I thought it was pertinent. What about a new Mac? Should you buy a new Mac now since the new ones are out? Do you want one of those or should you wait? He's going to give us the different reasons why you would do one or the other.
Without further ado, then, let's proceed to get started.
Hi, this is Gary with MacMost.com. With the end of 2020 approaching, let's look at whether or not you should be buying a new Mac. MacMost is brought to you thanks to a great group of more than 800 supporters. Go to MacMost.com/Patreon. There you could read more about the Patreon campaign, join us, and get exclusive content and course discounts. So this is an odd time to be buying a new Mac. Apple has just started its transition from Intel processors to its own M-class processors. They started at the low end with the MacBook Air, the Mac Mini, and the 2 Thunderbolt port 13-inch MacBook Pro. I expect them to next go to the mid-range and come out with new iMacs and perhaps a mid-range MacBook Pro. We'll probably see that in the first 6 months of 2021. And then they'll probably go to the high end covering the iMac Pro and the Mac Pro. Now whether or not the 16-inch MacBook Pro is included in the high end or the mid-range we'll have to see. I do expect there to be different processors in each of these groups. So we have the M1 processor in the low end machines. In the mid-range we'll get something new. Maybe it'll be the M2, maybe it'll be called the M1A. We'll have to see. And then probably another jump in performance for the high-end machines. They'll probably wrap it all up either at the end of 2021 or the first 6 months of 2022. So if you're in the market for a new Mac, this puts you in an odd position. If the type of Mac you want, say an iMac, is still using an Intel processor, do you buy what they have now or do you wait until they upgrade the processor and then get that model? Now usually I advise people to buy a new Mac when they want it or need it and not delay that purchase just because of a rumor or some predicted schedule of release. Usually the next update is only incrementally better, and as soon as that comes out there are already rumors for the model after that. So I say just get what they have now because now is when you want or need the Mac, and don't pay attention to rumors and things. However, this is a special situation. It isn't a rumor that Apple's going to replace these Intel Macs with M-class processor Macs. It's going to happen. And it isn't even speculation on when. Apple says they'll complete this by 2022. So at 2021 just around the corner we can predict that in the next 12 to say 18 months we'll probably see everything replaced and Apple no longer selling Intel Macs. As a matter of fact, you can look at all of Apple's Intel Macs now and say that these are the top of the line Intel Macs. Apple's never going to come out with more powerful Intel Macs than what they have right now. The next step for every model is going to be to an M-class processor. In addition to that, all the reports from everybody buying these new M1 Macs is that it's a significant performance leap over the Intel Macs. I've got a new MacBook Pro myself and I've tested and seen that that's true. Matter of fact, in some tests it even beats my 12-core Xeon Mac Pro machine. And we're talking about the low-end version. Probably whatever they put in iMacs is going to be even more powerful. So it's really hard for me to advise anybody now to buy an Intel Mac. It's going to be replaced with something more powerful very soon. But there are some reasons you still may want to pick up an Intel Mac. One is if you really, really need it now and you've got the budget for it. Say you use it for work and you're having problems with your existing Mac or it's just too old to take on a new project that you're working on. Then you may want to consider getting that new iMac or high-end MacBook Pro or iMac Pro or Mac Pro just because you need it right now and you can't wait for the new M-class version of that Mac to come out. I would try to hold off if you can, but if you really can't, then you got to go with what's available now. And you know that you'll still be able to use it for several more years. The other reason is if you use Windows on your Mac. If you dual boot to Windows on your Mac or you use something like Parallels or VMware to access Windows apps. That's only possible in the current Macs because they have Intel processors. So once you go to an M-class Mac, you will no longer be able to do that. Maybe there might be some solution in the future, but right now I wouldn't count on it. So if that's really important to you and getting just a second computer that's a PC to take care of those tasks isn't an option, then you may want to consider getting one of the Intel Macs out today. They're the top of the line. Apple's never going to produce more powerful Intel Macs than what they have now. So buying one now makes sense, or maybe even waiting a little while and picking up a used or refurbished one would make sense because there's not going to be a newer model. But back to the M1 Macs. Are there any downsides to buying one right now? Yes, there are. There's compatibility issues with some software. Now, for the most part, things just work. If you're already using Catalina or Big Sur on your current Mac, then it's not going to be a huge deal because Catalina and Big Sur already require that you're using 64-bit apps. So if you were using any old 32-bit apps, you've already updated those apps or found replacements. For the most part, the 64-bit apps you use now are going to work fine on the M1 processor. A lot of them have already been updated to run natively on that processor. All of the Apple apps have, even ones like Final Cut Pro, Logic, and Motion. And now a lot of the big apps from other companies like Microsoft and Adobe run fine in emulation, but both of those companies have already said that they've got new native versions of those apps coming very soon. So if you use other software, it's really easy to figure out whether or not that app runs well on the M1 Macs. All you need to do is go to the developer's website. They'll either say that their app runs fine in emulation. They might say that they have a new version of the app out. And many developers like Affinity, Pixelmator, Panic, they've all already come out with their new native apps for the M1. Other apps may work fine in emulation, sometimes even running faster than on your existing Mac. Some apps, like the app I used to record, ScreenFlow, works mostly fine, but a key function is missing on the M1. However, they've already said they're working on it. This is already very different than when Apple switched from the PowerPC to the Intel Macs. It seemed like it took forever for developers to catch up. Here we have many major developers releasing new versions of their apps that run natively on the M1 processor right from day one. It seems like it's happening a lot faster, probably because it's a lot easier to transition. So as there are some growing pains right now, I think as the days, weeks, and months go by, those will go away as developers simply update their apps. So if there's some piece of software that doesn't work on the new M-class processors right now, by the time an iMac or higher end MacBook Pro comes out, it probably will. So looking at whether or not you should buy, if you're thinking of a MacBook Air, well, Apple only sells the M1 processor MacBook Air now. So the decision there is easy. If you're thinking of a 13-inch MacBook Pro and just want the one with 2 Thunderbolt ports, well, that's the M1 processor as well. But anything with more Thunderbolt ports, including the 16-inch MacBook Pro, you're going to have to wait for Apple to come out with a new version using the M1 or M1A or M2 or whatever it's going to be. And the same goes for all iMacs. I really wouldn't buy an Intel iMac right now if you can help it. Instead, wait for Apple to come out with new iMacs next year. It's a little trickier with the Pro models because I don't expect there to be an iMac Pro or Mac Pro next year. There might be towards the end of the year. But I think Apple's really going to want to boost the performance in these processors, maybe even see if they can work in a separate GPU for those as well. So you may have to wait a whole other year for those machines. So if you're one of those people that wants a top of the line machine and is willing to buy a new Mac every other year or so, then the current iMac Pro or Mac Pros are probably still a valid choice. But I think the general answer for most people is to buy one of the new M1 Macs if that model is the one you want. Otherwise, wait for Apple to upgrade the iMac or new MacBook Pro that you want to the new M-class processors before buying. Let me know what you think. Are you considering buying one of the new Intel Macs now? Or are you waiting for Apple to improve the M-class processors a little bit more before getting a new Mac? Publish new to hit the subscribe button so you don't miss it.
Oh, that was pretty concise.
Yeah, and I think excellent advice.
Yep.
Excellent advice.
So
Yep, a lot of people forget that the entries that they just made are all the low end of the list, with the exception of maybe the MacBook Pro. But they're not considered.
I think that should be called the MacBook Air Pro because it just has a touch bar.
Yeah. And they may have overclocked it a little bit. It has a fan in it. So
it has a fan. So for doing more constant work, if you're going to run it hard, the fan would be beneficial. But if you're a person that does that, you may not want a 2-port machine. That's why they still sell the 4-port Intel MacBook Pro.
Yeah.
Same with the Mini. The Mini, they still sell the 4-port Mini, high-end Mini Intel. Some people use those Intel Minis as serious machines because you can put 64 gigs of RAM in them.
Oh, there's nothing shameful about the Mini. It's a heck of a computer. And and it gives you a lot of flexibility. You can put any kind of a screen on it that you want, and it's got all the power. You know, unless you want to go with a pro model, it has sufficient power to do whatever you want, generally speaking. So,
Anybody
everybody
got any comments or questions about the new machines? Anybody order one or get one or waiting for one or?
Another source of information on this question is a site, Mac Rumors.
Yeah.
And, I really like what they have to say on whether or not you should buy now or buy later.
I think each person's situation is different.
Yes.
What software you're using, what kind of jobs you do, how important it is, how much money you want to spend, how much you want to jump in, you know.
Alexa, turn on living room. Okay. Sorry. I turned the lights on.
So far, the reports are all really good, that it's really fast. And, you know, the major software is going right away to native, so.
I read a report, I think it was in Wired, that said throw away all of your understanding and concepts of how RAM memory
That's right.
used, that this is a whole different game,
Right.
and you don't just add extra RAM to an M1. So
no, you can't. None of these.
Comment on that.
No Mac in the future are you going to be able to upgrade the SSD size or the RAM. It's all going to be on the chip. No more upgrades.
Why did they only have 2 USB ports on the Mac Mini?
It's the beginning low end. The chip that's in these 3 machines is all the same, and it only supports 2 USB ports. That's all the hardware can support.
2
So they're
USB-C ports. The
right.
Mini
They're very
does have
fast.
older USB 3 ports as well.
Are they Thunderbolt compatible? I forget.
Yes, they're Thunderbolt 4 USB 4 ports.
Yeah. So
they're rocking fast.
Yeah, so you can get a Thunderbolt cable and get a Thunderbolt dock.
Yeah.
And you could run, I guess, literally dozens of accessories.
Yeah.
Because the USB-C will support up to 100 watts of power. So, you know, there's no shortage there. Then you can also always get one of these things. This is a little USB-C connector here, and I get HDMI, 3 USB 3 ports. I get another USB-C port that will support power in. I get Ethernet, and I get 2 card readers with this guy. And this is I'm very, very pleased with that thing.
What is it called, Rick?
This is a Satechi, SATECHI, USB-C dock.
There, you go to Amazon, there's just tons of these things.
Yeah, this one was not inexpensive. It was about 70 or 79 bucks.
The one I got was highly rated on Amazon, and it was only 30 bucks, and it had one more thing, it had VGA.
Oh, there you
What
go.
is it called?
I don't remember. It's in my bag. I don't
But
have
it'd be
any. I don't
a
have a machine.
USB-C dock.
Yeah. And then there's also bigger docks made for like iMacs and minis. This is meant to be portable. The bigger ones are got a power, you know, they're bigger and you can get up to 10, 15 ports on them. You can get like all kinds of stuff on them. And they're like maybe $100, $200, $300, depending on what you want on them.
No, the 4 port that I have on my Mini works just fine. I can kind of switch things around, but there's no way I could figure out how I could have my monitor and my keyboard and my mouse and
there's an easy way.
All that stuff with just 2 USB ports.
Well, you get the thing
Get a
Rick
dock.
has. Yeah, you get the little
Get a
dock for
dock.
No,
Okay.
I don't know.
Those things will
You've looked
actually
at the
work.
diagram. There's 2 USB-C ports, but there are also 2 older USB ports that you can plug your keyboard into.
Well, Joanne's doesn't have USB-C on it, I believe. You have
Oh, it
4
does.
USB ports, right?
I have the late 2014 Mini.
Yeah. So
Yeah, it has
it's got
doesn't it?
USB 3. And you can purchase a dandy hub, a USB hub that's powered with as many, well, I know I have one that's got 7 ports on it.
Yeah, well, I
And-
was perfectly happy with the 4 ports that I have.
Oh,
and-
well, okay. I was thinking you said you couldn't handle all of the.
Well, a new one would
peripherals.
only have 2, but
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So how do
Sure.
I handle all of this? Because most
it has
of
2
the,
of each kind, 4 total. 2 USB 3, like printer mouse ports, and 2 of the new fast USB-Cs that you can plug in a dock like Rick has and then get multiple ports off of that. You could have, like Rabbit, you could have things all over the thing with some docks. You got to get some extra docks.
If you only need USB 3, you can get an adapter USB-C to USB 3 and then plug in any USB 3.
Yeah, those are like $10
It'll give you
bucks.
multiple
Yeah.
USB 3 ports.
Jan.
There's unlimited numbers of things you can plug into because it's not an Apple thing. You got to remember USB-C is cross-platform with Windows. That's why there's all these different choices.
Yeah.
What,
Jan
what's the-
Chesney.
Thank you. What's the difference between a hub and a dock?
Well, a hub, typically, USB hub would only have USB on it for plugging in multiple USB devices,
Yeah.
where a dock would have multiple kinds of things you could plug in: Ethernet, HDMI, SD card reader, not just one type of thing.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Thanks, John. So anybody else got any observations or questions?
Thinking about getting one.
Talking about, oh, you're thinking about getting one? Is that what you said, Bruce?
Yes, I did.
Which one are you thinking of getting?
The Air.
What do you have now?
Oh, I have a 2014 Air.
That's getting a little old.
Yeah, it wants me to upgrade to the newest release, but
Yeah, you can do Big Sur on that.
I'm running Catalina, so it's working just fine.
You can, Catalina's fine. That'll go to Big Sur. I have a 2013. This one here is 2013 MacBook Pro that I did Big Sur on it. And it's got fixed RAM. You can't upgrade the RAM, but you can upgrade the SSD. I'm not sure you can upgrade the SSD on yours. I think this one here is the last one you could do that.
Oh, I didn't.
What's your
okay.
SSD size?
128.
Oh, see,
boy.
that's tight. That's
Yeah.
what this one is. This one's a 128, but I don't have any data on it. I can't put media on it. No photos, no music, but all my apps and all my documents are on it.
Oh.
Well, your new one, the option, they all come with a base of 256, so that'd be twice as much.
We'll be
Yeah.
getting
They also,
the new Air. I'm waiting for the 8-core 16 gigabyte Air to be available for in-store pickup. I have an Air that's 2.5 years old, which normally I would never replace it. But my personal fear as a design type minded person is that if I wait for another Air in another 1.5 years, they will no longer have rose gold. And I really need my rose gold.
I
it's
would
interesting
suspect-
if they
I
don't-
suspect somebody will, if they discontinue the rose gold, somebody on eBay or Amazon will come up with one of those little snap-on plastic thin covers.
There's always
In rose
eBay.
gold.
No, it's not the same.
No, that's true.
I don't think it's interesting to see what they'll do with the iMac, because these first machines, they're absolutely, if you can't tell you got the new M1. It's you're at Starbucks, somebody doesn't come up and say, oh, you got the new iPhone. It looks exactly the same. They didn't change anything. They just changed the guts. And I think they did it on purpose. They don't want people to think, oh, they want to feel comfortable. I know this machine, it looks the same. But who knows? They could change the iMac and make it physically different at some
They
point.
might make it look like that Pro monitor.
Yeah, we don't know what they're going to do. They might make it real familiar and just put the guts in it, or we really don't know when they're going to make the leap to a new design.
As long as they don't make their all-in-one, like an iMac, look like that stupid one that Dell has.
Yeah, if you open up the iMacs now, they've been making that machine for like 5 years, and it's long in the tooth for the design, but there's lots of room in there. And supposedly they've opened up these MacBook Airs and they said, there's lots of space in here in this old case because it's all on one chip.
Yeah.
So you don't have the space for the extra RAM and the SSD it's very tiny. Because basically it's iPhone, iPad guts.
Yeah. Somebody may come up with some way to just hop a little adapter into one of the plugs somewhere in there, if there are any plugs, and flop some kind of an adapter inside. I know on my 27-inch iMac, there's tons of space.
Oh,
in
it's
there.
just tons of space. It's mostly speakers.
Yeah, but there's still a lot of space up above the
Oh,
motherboard.
absolutely.
And it's really incredible.
What I've seen some people speculate that they might make they make these Windows PCs and call them NUC, which are like Apple TV size things.
Huh.
They could put this new setup inside of an Apple TV box and make like a Mac, like I don't know what they'd call it, Mac minimalist, just
or a
hockey puck for really cheap little thing,
Mac
All you need is HDMI and USB and the power plug, and you're done.
Call it the micro.
Yeah.
Micro. Yeah, you could have a little micro hockey puck. They could do that really easy. Sell it for, sub $500.
There's just no market for tubes anymore. Terrible thing.
They're still making them in Russia. I understand a lot of the Russian airplanes with their defensive electronics are using tubes too, so that thermonuclear electromagnetic events won't destabilize all of their electronics, like the American planes using solid state.
Well, that's comforting to know that
Yeah.
the nuclear warheads are powered by tubes.
Yeah, Ivan, the Americans are coming. Well, wait a minute for my tubes.
Just a minute, I got to pull this tube out. Where's the grocery store? I need to go test my tubes. Oh God.
What are you holding up, Lloyd?
It's a lot easier to fix. All you got to do is take the tube out, put a new one in.
Yeah.
Yeah, the tubes don't last forever though. They wear out.
Lloyd, you were showing us something. What were you showing us?
Well, I was measuring screen size and figure what I could fit in on this desk.
Oh, I thought you were showing us something there to comment on the electronics.
No, I just brought a sand disk because and that from Costco. It was $130, and the same one on Amazon was $159. So I felt pretty good, but it's out. The sale's off now.
I may have to leave a little early. I got something going on here. I'll talk to you guys later. I hope we did a good meeting. Bye now.
You did.
Great meeting.
How are we doing here, folks? What time is it? It's 4:30. Whatever. We got some more. We can take more questions if you want.
I'm curious about that Mac Mini.
Yeah.
Did I understand that it's the new one with the it's the new one with the new processor in it? Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay. And they're not coming out with another one? That's it?
I doubt that they'll have a new Mac Mini other than what they got for till they get to the end of the rest of them being updated.
Gotcha.
They won't upgrade that one till probably another year or two.
What is the general feeling about that one?
It's a screamingly fast computer for the money.
John, go ahead and start screen sharing and go to apple.com, select the mini and then hit tech specs and show them the back so we can clarify what the ports are.
Okay, share screen, kill the keynote.
Well, I bought one for my
Go to Safari, go to
and
apple.com. You're seeing this, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And go to the Mac. Come on, baby. Go to the new Mini. And load.
Hit tech specs.
Well, let's see what they say in this screen.
No, it's not there. Just go.
Tech specs.
Yeah. Now go down.
All right, so here's the two of them side by. They still sell the high-end Intel one with 4 ports. And so here's the there's the back. These are 2 USB 3 speed old-fashioned ports like your keyboard and mouse plug into, or USB 3 hard drives. Okay, these are 2 of the USB-C, which are very high speed, which you could put docks into and hook more ports into, and then 1 HDMI for your monitor, Ethernet, and the power plug. There is no card reader slot anymore like there was in the previous one. So if you go to the Intel one, remember what this looks like. And now we'll look at the back of the Intel model. These are the previous ones. It had 4 of these USB-C ports. Now it only has 2 of them. It still had the HDMI and the 2 old-fashioned USB 3s. And I guess this model, they dropped the SD card reader on this model too. Hasn't been in there for a while. So basically this is what's missing on the new one. 2 of these, which you can get by putting a dock like Rick had, or you could get a 10-port dock for depending on how many you need.
But your average your keyboard and your mouse don't require these faster ports.
No, you would not. That would be a waste.
Right.
You plug your mouse into your keyboard, and then your keyboard into one of these, and then probably your printer into one of the other ones.
John, why
if you
would
need more of these
mouse?
ports, you get a USB hub for USB 3 speed, and then you could have like a 4-port or 6 or 8 or 10 or however number you need. Those are cheap, 10, 20 bucks for lots of ports of these type.
Okay.
Can't you
sharing.
use Bluetooth
There you go.
keyboard and mouse?
Well, the new iMacs have quite a while have shipped with Bluetooth mice and keyboards. They don't come with wired devices.
Right. Go ahead and kill screen sharing, John.
Okay. We'll close this. Stop share. That's right. I forgot that Macs for quite a while have come with Bluetooth keyboards and mice. Yeah, Jerry.
Including the Mac Mini? Did it do Bluetooth?
Oh, everything has Bluetooth also. That's how the keyboard and mice work.
So you don't need to worry about plugging in your keyboard and mouse.
Right. Unless you got an old Mini that has a wired keyboard and mouse, because Minis don't come with keyboard and mice. You have to supply your own.
Right.
If you're moving forward from something older that has a plug-in, then yeah, you got to plug it in or get a new Bluetooth one. I'm not a big fan of Bluetooth keyboards and mice. When the batteries go dead or something, you lose control of the thing. You got to have a wired one around for emergency. One in the chat. Chat's red. Is there somebody else? We already did that on this machine. No, we're okay.
You know, you got to have the wired one when you reboot it or you restore. You have to restore.
Well, the new machines will recognize Bluetooth keyboards and mice. If you want to hold the Option key and choose your boot device, they'll work, hopefully. But the best way is you get a new computer that comes with a new iMac, comes with a wireless keyboard and mouse in the box, and your old one had a wired one, and you're going to get rid of your old iMac. If you're going to give it to somebody and they don't have one, they need it. But if you're just going to e-waste it because it's ancient, don't throw away your wired keyboard and mouse. Keep it, because you may need it someday. That's the ultimate. It'll always work with that. You know, so I've had people call me, they'll buy a new computer and 6 months later, my keyboard, my mouse doesn't work. Well, did you ever plug it in and charge it? Huh? I think it's going to last forever. It's just magic.
And the new ones don't come with batteries. You have to plug it in.
Right, if they're rechargeables. For quite a while, they've been rechargeable, yeah.
Well, and you don't know when it needs to be recharged.
Well, it has a, no, you do know, because it has a little, up on the menu bar under Bluetooth, it will show you the percentage. If it gets low, it will say your mouse is down to 10%. You'll get a pop-up message.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, no, it will warn you.
Yeah.
Because if you lose it and you don't own a wired keyboard, sometimes it's very hard to get it. If your mouse still works, then yeah, you can get in and go to the system preference or whatever. But if you lose both of them, you're not going to lose them both at the same time. But yeah, it'll warn you. And it's funny. They come with a. Do they come with a lightning cable in the box? Yeah, they have to charge them. Some people think that that's how the mouse works and they plug it in. The mouse, the charger is on the bottom. You can't use the mouse. The keyboard, you can plug it in permanently and you think it's working that way. All it's doing is charging. It doesn't work with the lightning cable. That's not how it works.
It will actually work as a wired. I tried it by turning off Bluetooth, plugging in the lightning cable, and it worked.
And the keyboard worked?
Keyboard worked.
Really? I didn't know that.
Interesting. Another thing too is if it gets like really, really low and it gives you a warning, you can plug it in for like a half an hour and that will give it enough power to get you through the day.
It's really a dumb design to put the charger on the bottom. If they would have put it on the back end, you could plug it in and use it.
That's just the mouse, but the trackpad and the keyboard are fine. They got the charger in the back. So
yeah, that's right. The trackpads
I have a spare cable on my desk, and I leave one or the other plugged in. So I just switch them out once a month or something, keep them up, charged up.
Hey, Chris, I got a question for you.
Go ahead.
You know, the troublesome iMac with the screen thing, that's of the vintage that it can use it as an external monitor.
Right.
You ever done that?
Yeah, of course I have.
I think I'm gonna try that.
Yeah, you need, but that one doesn't have Thunderbolt. You have to have the micro USB. I got one. It's a mini display port cable or something.
I think oh yeah, that's right, huh? You have to use the Thunderbolt 3 mini display cable thingy.
No, it has to be a mini display cable. It's not.
Okay, I'm going to try it.
It's a Thunderbolt cable.
I'm going to see if that'll stay alive with that.
Yeah. Hey, by the way, I cooked the GPU on i3 Core i3 2010. Fixed it. Working great.
You fixed it and loaded the extensions and.
Well, I reinstalled the OS. That hard drive is done in that computer. It was erroring. I tried to fix it, and then it would boot from the hard. So I'm having problems getting the OS back.
So it did load the full OS with the extensions.
Yeah, I loaded it with El Capitan. That worked. Before it didn't, but then I fixed graphics card, and now it does. And I ran the graphics card playing the HD overnight, and it worked fine. But the hard drive's dodgy in that machine. Very dodgy.
Really? Did I have a sticker on it that said "Say to OK"?
Yeah, I can't remember. I have to check.
I can't remember. I think
the hard drive,
I marked them all. Maybe that one I didn't.
thing was so full of dust. I couldn't believe it.
Oh, then I didn't take that apart.
No, nobody took that one apart. That one's never been opened up since new. It was so
Oh.
full of dust, unbelievable. But anyway,
Alrighty
yeah,
then.
that one's working. The graphics card is now working. Just needs a hard drive though. I'm going to try and recover it, but I think it's done.
No, chuck it. It's got. Forget it.
Yeah. Well, not chuck the machine, chuck the drive.
Yeah. Yeah. Anybody else? How we doing? We got a couple more in chat here. Let's see what's going on in chat.
Janet's got her hand up. Is Janet waving goodbye, or has Janet got a question?
Under Bluetooth menu, doing.
Hang on, Janet.
Janet has her hand up.
Go ahead.
Okay. I have to kind of a predicament because I wish I'd bought an Intel 15 or 16 inch before it was too late. Now they come with Catalina or Big Sur, and I want to keep a machine that can do 32-bit apps.
Yeah, you got to stop at Mojave.
Yeah, that's what I would like. But if I bought a new machine, would
Can't go back. Can't go back.
There's no way to go back.
No. And typically a machine will only run what it came with and not earlier, unless they hadn't updated it in a while. Like the minis, I think, might have been this way. They didn't update them for several years, or they just updated the software and the hardware is exactly the same. In that case, you might be able to reinstall an older version.
But what you can do, Janet, is you can install, if it's an Intel machine, not the new M1s, if you've got an Intel machine, you can install VMware Fusion and then have an older OS installed as a virtual machine, and then put your software in that virtual machine and run it from there. And provided you've got enough memory, like 16 gig or plus, then it works fine, because I'm in that situation. I'm running El Capitan because I've got software that only runs in El Capitan, won't run anything newer. So I have it running in a virtual machine. I just boot it up, restart it, takes like 10 seconds or something, and then I run the software in there and then shut it down as needed.
Well, I tried to get parallels going on my present machine and I was not able to do it. I guess I need to call upon somebody.
You might take a look at Apple refurbs.
Yeah, or
Get a machine
B&H.
a year old that'll run Mojave.
Right. B&H or Apple, they sell older machines.
I get the feeling though that the present Intel 16-inch was made for Intel, so I would think.
No, the 16-inch is a fairly new hardware design. That's not going to, unless it came with Mojave, you're not going to be able to.
And you want the 16-inch. You don't want the older 15-inch because they got the crappy keyboards. They got the black keyboards that are unstable, whereas a new 16-inch has got the good keyboards.
I got a feeling that the iMac design hasn't been upgraded for like 5 years.
No, it has. The iMac's got the new iMacs have got the T2 chip on it, which is
okay. The physical design outside is the same.
Yeah, physically it's.
Oh yeah, it's got a T2. T2, you can't boot off anything but what it came with. No way, no how.
Rumor has it that there's a 24-inch iMac coming out.
Right, the base machine will be moved up to a 24. Could be, you never know.
Smaller borders.
Never know. We got a question in the chat. Says, do I understand correctly? Marjorie here. Do I understand correctly that accessing your bank using iOS is more secure than doing with macOS? Absolutely. Because Apple controls the App Store. You can't install any funky stuff that's going to your keyboard. Your bank supplies the app to talk to the bank server. It's encrypted the whole way. It's the most secure way you can access your bank. So if you do it on your computer, you're going to go through a web browser. So, you know, your web browser could get hijacked. You could have a funky extension installed in there, some malware. A lot more places to get it intercepted. Marjorie, you're here? You still here? I guess not.
What do you think?
She's here. Marjorie Fulton's. She's just not got her video showing.
She's not. Is she unmuted?
No, she's still.
Did you get it, Marjorie? You hear that?
Well, in the future with the M1 chip, I think, aren't we going to have apps, OS, iOS apps that you can run on the Mac? And then you'd be able to interact with your bank securely? Or
Well,
not?
that's a good question. Because you can run iOS and iPad apps on an M1 Mac.
Yeah.
I would think if B of A made their iOS app available on in the App Store for the Mac, where you could download it, run it on one of these, that would probably be more secure than a web browser, I would think. We'll have to see. Somebody tests this. You know, your web browser is not the most secure thing in the world. There's the other issue of how you connected to the internet. So you're on a Wi-Fi, it's going through the air. So on your phone, it's going through cell phone data, or you could be going through Wi-Fi. I would think cell phone data would be more secure than the Wi-Fi.
I agree.
John?
I don't think I would go to a Starbucks and connect to their Wi-Fi and then connect to your bank. I think that's probably a bad idea.
Marjorie's responding, John.
You there now?
Okay. Yeah. My husband accesses his Schwab account through with his iMac. So should he be getting a laptop or something? I mean, iPad?
I would imagine if you had an iPad with the Schwab app, would be more secure than doing it with your Mac.
But if you're doing it with your Mac at home on your own Wi-Fi?
Yeah, if you're not in a public place, yeah. I think you're probably okay.
Yeah, he's not taking his iMac to the coffee shop to
not going to Starbucks. Don't go to Starbucks with your laptop and access Schwab through the web. That's probably a bad idea.
You know, he's got this large iMac and he's always working from his desk.
Yeah.
So it
even
should
better
be okay
if you're
then.
hardwired with Ethernet, probably, and not Wi-Fi.
Oh, we could do that. Yeah. Okay.
Then there's no chance of it going through the air. But you're on your own Wi-Fi, and so it's probably fine.
Okay, thank you. We'll move this.
Make sure your password isn't 1234.
Yeah, right. Okay, thanks.
Yeah, and make sure nobody's parked outside your window in a strange car.
Right. Make sure you have a good password on your Wi-Fi. Because if you don't, somebody could conceivably connect to your Wi-Fi and try to intercept your traffic on your Wi-Fi.
May I ask you something?
Yeah.
We got this, what do you call this? Router?
Mm-hmm.
And it came with a password printed on it. So we're supposed to change that, I guess, huh? Or do you think each of those comes with a different one?
It came with a Wi-Fi password on it, or a router admin password.
They usually come with both.
Yeah. It's probably a good idea to change them both. Especially the admin password is typically username blank password admin or something stupid like that. And then if anybody drives by and uses a sniffer, which is a little piece of software, and they can see that the brand is D-Link, and all the D-Links in the world have the same default username admin password or whatever, and they can get right in there and be right inside your router.
I just installed a new Comcast service for a friend, and it made me change the password that was on the bottom of the router.
They forced you to do that?
Yes.
Not a bad idea. Most of them don't.
Well, it seems to be new from Comcast that now they do.
I don't know, but most of the third-party routers you buy at the store have, you can just Google, what's the default admin password for a D-Link? And they're all the same.
Well, Comcast is putting unique ones on each one of their boxes, but they're requiring you, once you enable it, to then change it.
Yeah. The nice thing is, like, they're printed on there, and if you forget it, you can go look at it. But once you change it, then you don't know what it is, unless you write it down somewhere, keep track of it. I guess you could always, you can always paperclip the thing and default reset it, and it would go back to the password that's on the sticker, I think.
It will.
If you use an Ethernet cable, no password is required. You don't have to deal with that. What else we got? We done? How far we went into it? We're 2 hours in. You ready to say night night?
Night night. Great program.
Okay, let me go to gallery view.
We'll do one more
View
question.
gallery. View gallery.
One more question, John.
Hey,
Oh, we got
John,
another question. One last one.
Did I read someplace that Zoom, the free version, took away that 40-minute restriction?
Thanksgiving Day only.
Oh.
Oh yeah, there. Yeah, free day on Thanksgiving. No 40-minute limit.
Thanks.
Who's calling me? Unknown phone number.
Okay.
You can lower your interest rate.
Yeah.
I didn't find that, Chris. I didn't find that hard drive in the pile. It must have been bad SATA, and I re-wasted it.
And
I
you
don't
threw
know
away.
where the brackets went. That's a mystery.
Yeah, I really.
Did you open up the other one and get
No, the 2010. It's got the same bracket. Or it
Go
looks
ahead
as if
and
it's
stop the recording.
Yeah,
so
stop
that-
the recording.
Oh
We
yeah,
don't-
hold on. I'll stop the recording, then we can. Okay,
Bye.
so I'm going to